every candidate in any party at any meeting will mention the same word, and that word is transparency.
My perspective is that this is not the result of a misunderstanding. This system and this process has done exactly what it was designed to do. It did exclude an African-American woman from the process. It excluded community voice and community input. This is a systemic issue.
When I found out that Chief Best, or Officer Best, is no longer part of the selection process, I was a little perturbed because she's been embedded in our community for a very long time.
A secret panel deciding not to take advantage of the biggest chance Seattle has to become a truly integrated town by appointing a Black woman who is well known in the community.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you enter another KingCast Mortgage Movies production, please recognize that I don't go to City Council with the hope of actually ever changing anything directly. They are pretty much beyond hope for that. No, I go to record video and to make movies that document the downfall of Western civilization as it applies to Greater Seattle. That has, to me, lost its harmonic and hormonal stability entirely. Even more so than 4 years ago when I met Councilor O'Brien and read a video after someone got an ear bitten off at a local park, and after other numerous criminal activities in First Hill led me out to the suburbs. Now we have opioids in our mussels, we have people stealing mail by the bushel in Queen Anne, dead people showing up on our public streets in Ridgecrest and beyond. We have a community-minded woman stabbed 60 times, allegedly by her deadbeat housemate recently, and a woman raped at a local Volkswagen dealer all in the last month. That woman was a friend of mine, is a friend of mine. Anyway, it's only going to get worse.
I'm now on my 4th police complaint in a year, less than a year. I moved here in July. So at this point, we were assaulted in our building the other day by a resident. So I have this letter that I'm going to submit to you all and to the city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. King. Is Charles here? No. 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 No.
Tim, by the way, don't you ever cut me off, son, when I'm asking for leave to briefly conclude. When you grant that kind of leave to other people and you don't do it to me, that's called unlawful viewpoint-based discrimination. And if you do it again, I'm going to slap you on the back end of a lawsuit so fast it'll make your head spin. Boy.
I'm really concerned about how this brother was treated on here today because the level of disrespect needs to just go all the way down.
If we could just have Ms. McDonald present her findings so that the public doesn't feel that, again, things are being hidden from them, that, again, people are being bought and paid for by the banks.
The Seattle City Council engaged my firm, McDonald Property Analytics, to conduct an analysis of certain assignments of deeds of trust in accordance with Washington state law. Investigation revealed that absolutely none of these MERS assignments, in fact, are valid. Not only are they not valid, but they violate a particular Washington statute that makes it a felony to record a false document in your public land records. And that triggers a $5,000 statutory fine.
So there's also, this is a legal, a moral, and ethical, and a financial incentives for the city to do the right thing, and for the county to do the right thing.
Well, it is.
Have we gotten close to scheduling time for this gentleman to come in with Attorney Stafford to present to council?
Mr. King, I think the best way to determine the scheduling is to work with the committee chair, who is responsible for that area, and work directly with the committee chair to schedule, or not schedule, whatever the chair is going to do there.
And while I would hope that we from you guys work on that yourselves, you shouldn't have to, come hunting for it. You should have it already.
Good afternoon, council and counselor. You all probably know why I'm here, and I'm here for 2 reasons, 2 words: Multnomah County. As you know, they just sued MERS and settled last week for $9 million. Okay? I mean, do you think Multnomah County was wrong? I mean, does the water turn differently down there? you know, it's like 3 hours away. I don't know, guys.
She hears the community's voice. She understands what the community needs. She's been embedded in the community for a number of years. So I just expected her to at least be part of the end process of being on the list of being selected. I'm a little frustrated because we already know the relationship between police and community around the nation. We're at a time right now in Seattle where we could literally say, here, we're gonna put somebody that the community really is backing in charge and let them lead what Seattle Police Department looks like and how it operates in these communities that are the most policed. And then that makes us in the community feel a little safer and makes us understand that there's some change that could be made, where we can start really putting a dent in the violent crime that's happening in our communities today. She is the one that needs to be in that office because she's the one that knows what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because at the end of the day, it's about instilling confidence in the next police chief. And with this whole thing being blown up, I don't think it's instilling much confidence in it.
It was very hurtful, especially knowing one of them was our interim police chief. If there was no opportunity for an internal candidate, then we should not have allowed interim chief Best to apply. We should have said this is closed to internal candidates. It was very disrespectful.
It was a very flawed process. The firm that was hired to do the headhunting has issues of racial bias. So there's already problems before this process even kicked off.
From the beginning, this process was flawed. There was no transparency in how the chief selection committee was selected. And I would argue that of that very large committee, it failed to represent those communities most impacted by policing. I'm not just talking about Black or brown faces or people who work with houseless folks. I'm actually talking about people who have been incarcerated, people who are over-policed, young people, people who are houseless or have lived in the situation of being houseless, actually having the opportunity to be a part of that selection committee, because who knows better what those communities that are over-policed need but those folks. The selection committee is not the only issue. There was a survey put out that was incredibly inaccessible to low-income communities and communities where people are not tech savvy. So responding to that survey in order to provide feedback would have been impossible. The community meetings were not well advertised, and there was not any relationship with community like grassroots groups in order to make sure that the most marginalized were brought to the table. I'm someone who's significantly engaged in our city, and yet I did not know when those meetings were.
Christopher King will be followed by Gene Darcy.
Good afternoon. May it please the council, I have one copy for you and one, if I could get time-stamped, or for my notes and my files. The selection process for the police chief doesn't seem to be engendering a lot of public confidence in you all. But meanwhile, I have another issue that we've broached 4 years ago that also doesn't engender a lot of public confidence in you. And this goes back to the fact that after you attended my seminar on housing and foreclosure and underwater homes, you all know what happened next. Okay, so we're gonna play the it's a fact game. It's a fact that you know I was a residential closing attorney and a civil rights lawyer. It's a fact that many of you attended my forum on underwater housing. It's further a fact that you commissioned an associate of mine, Marie McDonald, to come here and do an audit of the King County Recorder of Deeds. She did that audit dutifully at taxpayer expense. And then it's a fact that you all refused to allow her to present her findings to you and to the American and city public, okay? So meanwhile, the only person who would allow her to speak even on her report was Nick Licata, and he's gone.
Need to basically recognize that what the banks are doing to citizens like Jane here is really criminal activity. You got that right.
He's gone. So it's a fact that I then noted to all of you that Multnomah County in Oregon, Portland basically, sued MERS, collected $9 million. King County is 3 times the populace of that. That's $30 million we could have, you know, in the coffers to help the homeless, other situations of that nature, okay? Since then, 11 counties have sued MERS. We have feet of clay here. So it's a fact that I'm going to request any and all notes regarding the viability of suing MERS that you all have gathered over the years since I've made this public to you. And the taxpayers deserve a reason. I had to leak the Marie McDonald report myself. So the taxpayers want to know why we have not sued MERS and what your notes are, you know, from City Attorney Pete Holmes. I like Pete. and he's a good city attorney. But on this, we have feet of clay. Shama hasn't said anything. Shama used to be down with us. You got arrested with us, you know, and everybody's talking about suing MERS. Now, bupkis.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Unless we as activists take things in our own hands, it's not going to change. And what's happening elsewhere, things that are worse in other cities, are going to happen in Seattle. So we cannot just be complacent about it.